This will be a brief demonstration of the process to select the GeoModel and then export it to eToolbox. Forgive me if I sound froggy, I'm fighting a bit of a head cold. There's going to be three general steps in this procedure. Number one, we need to select the model layers, and then for each test, determine a depth range associated with each model layer. And then lastly, we will combine the information into a general GeoModel for the project. Step one is going to start in this GeoModel tab, and you can see for this demonstration project I've entered three general model layers: a dense sand, a soft alluvial silt, and then a stiff sandy elastic silt down at the bottom. The next step then will be for each test to associate a depth range of each model layer. In the case of borings with SPT-N values, that's going to occur in the soil component lithology tab. So each entry will be associated with a model layer. You can see more than one row can be associated with a model layer, or if a model layer doesn't occur in a test, then it just doesn't need to be selected. In this case, we could leave out model layer 2. The user will then go through and do that for each individual test. Similarly for CPT, the user can go into the CPT model layers tab for each test and associate a range for each of the model layers. This table is validated and automated to make sure there's no gaps or overlapping of the data, and it also pre-populates the bottom depth for the user to make it a bit easier, hopefully. So once that's done for each of the tests, the user is then ready to build the general GeoModel. We're going to trigger that procedure in this Export to eToolbox button. The procedure has detected that we have both N values and CPT data in this project. So we will just move forward with N values to demonstrate that. We'll use all the tests that have N value data in it. And that brings us to what I'm calling this GeoModel Builder window. Because each of the tests we've selected has an elevation associated with them, the data is plotted versus elevation. You can see the general GeoModel layers on the left side for each test, as well as the N values versus elevation. On the right side, we have a textual summary of the information, and that can be toggled to show a bit more information, including averages for each test and classifications as well. The first step is going to be to select a model surface elevation, essentially zero depth for our model. We'll do an average there of about 4.7. We'll say the dense sand is 10 feet thick, the soft alluvial silt is 45, and we'll end our model at 65 feet deep. Alternatively, we might want to be a bit conservative and extend that soft silt layer down to 54 feet, the deepest area we've encountered it. And this graphic approach hopefully gives the user some flexibility there and a chance to be accurate and come up with a good GeoModel. At this point, we are ready to export to eToolbox, but let me back up just a second and demonstrate this from a CPT side. That brings us to the same window. You can see we only have three tests, and they are plotted versus depth this time. That's because I purposely left off an elevation of one of the tests. So again, we'll go through and enter our depth ranges. And we can then export to an eToolbox file. I'll select an eToolbox file, and the procedure is going to validate and make sure that is indeed the right type of file. I've already been using that particular file, so I will overwrite the existing data. and we will open it now. Okay, and it brings us to the soil tab of this eToolbox file, and you can see it's pre-populated the information we've entered with our model layers, a summary of some of the correlations based on the CPT data. So I will just run through quickly an analysis for shallow foundations here. This format's evolving a bit based on some good ideas by Matt Fielding. But if we enter parameters there, we can then analyze settlement and bearing capacity for this footing. We're giving it a range of footing sizes as well as pressures. Okay, and the system has calculated that for between a 5.5 size footing up to a 10 by 10, both using the constrained modulus value as well as the Schmertman method. And you can see we're about up to about 1/2 inch of settlement calculating. The user can then come here and, using the drop-down menus, select some values that he might want to pre-populate into the GeoReport exhibit. These can be selected from the drop-down or typed in, whichever is easier. You can see there are a few toggle buttons. For example, the user might want to include a note about expansive soil on the site or not. And this is just a chance to pre-populate the template and cut down on some typing later on. So if we click the Generate GeoReport Exhibit button, it provides that pre-populated template that we talked about. That can be then typed in and included in the general report. Hope that was informative. I look forward to hearing some feedback.